So what did we cover in the last 3 series? Well, we unpacked Kapahaka. It's not over. We still have today, of course. We had John Tapene, a real rangatira in Kapahaka, well known. You heard his story, where it began, what influenced him, his parents, and as all performing arts, you know, we're influenced usually by our immediate whānau, parents, grandparents, and coupled with desire. So John Tapene, was a pleasure to have him talk about the overarching Kapahaka kaupapa, everything about Kapahaka and what we strive to attain when we're performing Kapahaka. Kahupou, of course, wahine. It's always nice to hear from the wahine. They're not always willing to talk necessarily. So Kahu's a person who I particularly have a lot of respect for. She was around, as you heard in her own story, since 1957, when she first sort of started stepping up into the real serious Kapahaka stage. But again, her story started when she was very young. Mokopuna and her grandparents used to sit and watch her perform, and they were so proud of her, and that gave her just the encouragement she needed to go on and be someone to contribute hugely throughout her life, and continues to do so by mentoring and guiding people like me and other people in Kapahaka. Not just Kapahaka, all things Māori, te ao Māori, taha Māori. And of course, last week we had Te Hira Painga introducing, well, not introducing, but, you know, giving us the theology, tying in the theology of Kapahaka and his work for his PhD thesis. And of course, as you know, he's the dean, one of the tikanga deans at St. John's College, and he's the dean for tikanga Māori. It was lovely to hear from Te Hira, and thank you so much for making him welcome. He sent me a very, very warm email afterwards. He's quite taken by the participants here at Taha Māori that there would actually be such a group of people that were willing to participate and talk and learn. And it's not an enrollment as such. I think that was one of the things that he pointed out in his email. You're not enrolled, you're here because you desire it. And he was quite taken by that, and he congratulates you and thanks you very much for you know, staying the course, as it were. So it was a lovely, warm email. Now, before we started this series, we sent out the pānui via the usual, you know, pānui from the diocese and other ways, emails. And so before we started this series, I asked a question, or we asked a question in that pānui, do women do the haka? Do women haka? And there's a couple of ways that you can look at haka. Haka can sometimes be referred to as actually throwing a tantrum or throwing a big wobbly. I'm certainly, yeah, guilty of the above. When you're doing the haka, yeah, you're throwing a wobbly with somebody, so that's a sort of very sort of friendly, nice expression of women doing the haka. but when I asked the question, it was actually really about the cultural aspect of women doing the haka. Do they do the haka? You betcha. They do. Absolutely. Contrary to what a lot of people think, and contrary to even the mixed feelings amongst wahine, saying, no, we don't do the haka. Yes, we do the haka. I think it's a generation thing. I'm just saying. I think if you asked a younger generation, do women do the haka? Yeah, they're going to say, heck yeah. I mean, look at all these youngsters here. But even going back to that black and white photo up in the top right-hand corner there, you know, women were already brandishing weaponry. They were doing it with in my grandmother's day and before. So haka is not it's not new for women, but I guess, you know, time sort of helped to sort of pacify that area for women, and the rhetoric and the vocabulary around women doing haka. Yes, we have been doing haka forever. And so I just wanted to point that out, that yes, women do haka. But you might note that none of our Kapahaka speakers that I just mentioned specifically talked about this question. None of them talked about the women actually doing the haka. And that's okay. I didn't ask either. So certainly when I was growing up in primary school, and then again at secondary boarding school, Hatahohepa Māori Girls College, we did I suppose it would be a somewhat sedate haka performed by women. By sedate, I mean, you know, when you're comparing apples and pears, men do it, their legs are apart, you know, they're looking very manly and they puff up their chests and things like that. Women show that ferocity in a different way, and it's usually with their eyes, their attitude, their posture. There's a lot more kind of movement. If you have a look at that center photo there, they're going for the throat. That's a expression of going for the throat. And so it's been there for a long time. The picture on the left-hand side down the bottom there, she's doing that. She's slapping her forearm. So it's a gesture of, you know, we don't separate our legs and we don't sort of throw ourselves around like the men do. But having said that, the picture on the right-hand side down the bottom is women, you know, not reserved in any way. And I love it. I love it. Personally, I love it. I think women should just be expressive. It's an outward expression, outwardly expressive than we have been in the past. So we were somewhat sedate when I was growing up, but nowadays women are much more outwardly expressive than we were. But nonetheless, haka it was. And one of the most renowned haka pieces that women have done, and I've grown up with, and no doubt Deb's heard it. And I'm not going to shout this, it's easier said than when you're standing up and you're pulling faces, or pukana, I should say. Arara kapana pana ia haha oe kare kare ka tonetaku ngā kau ki ngā manariri ki po hatu whakapiri haere mai te taki tini hare mai te taki mano ki a pare tai toko tia ki tūranga hi ha oe. He mamai, ia ha ha, oe, kahare, taku poheri ki te tai whakarunga, hoki mai, taku tinana. Kahare, taku poheri ki te tai whakararo, hoki mai, taku tinana. Kia huri au ki te tai whakatū, kupe ki te tai o ma te whroi matuma. E ko te hoariri, roto I akuring, kuti arawa tia. Kia pare tona hia hi, ha, oe. So that's a haka I did when I was a child. And again, when I was growing up coming through boarding school. It's still performed today. If you go on YouTube, you'll see it. It's called Arara Ka Pana Pana. So that was a very sedate version. But if I was up on the stage with 20 other women, I would look entirely different to how I've looked this morning. So let me give you another version of another haka. I like how the Wallaroos are looking very confident, not daunted by the haka of the black ferns at all. But I think if I was playing footy with those black ferns, I'd be a tad sort of, nervous, quite nervous. But I did want to answer that question around, did women do haka? Yes, they do haka. It's more prevalent in some iwi than others, but that is iwi, pertinent. It's up to that iwi, really. If some people are offended by it, they are, and it is what it is. It doesn't mean you stop doing it because you've been grown up. You've grown up to do it. I've certainly grown up to do it, and so have my ancestors. So do women do haka? Do they do haka? Absolutely, they do. So that answers that question. Who decides? Here's a question. Who decides who does what, when, where, and why? When it comes to taha Māori or tau Māori or kapahaka or any of the things that we've been talking about in this series, who decides who does what, when? Who decides who? Who decides where? And who decides why? So I want to play you a couple of clips that are poignantly serious and insightful too. And perhaps let's say, well, I'll let the clips speak for themselves. Whakarongo titiro mai.
Ko whātikai mā toru te pake ki naine, e harau I te kuia. Engari, me he mea ka tohua au kia tuatu ki te marae atia ki reira karanga haere ai, e kore rā au e mea atu kāre au mo te puta I te mea he wahine Pākehā au. Moku ake, kāre he aha ki au he ato momo, iahu mai koe I whea. Me he mea kai te tika o whakāo. Me mea kai te pono koe I roto I tō nākau. Me he mea kai te whai koe I te ara I tohua e te atua mōu. I roto I te nākau tika me te nākau pono. Me he mea kai te nākau nui koe ki ngā mātā pono o te ao Māori. Kia kaua koe e tuku mā tētahi atu e mea atu. Kare koe e āhai ana. Hoi anō, I roto I tēnā whakaaro kau e whakahihi. Me he mea kai reira anō tētahi atu he Māori tōna whakapapa. Tukuna mana te karanga. Me he mea kai reira e tahi kuia kia kauarawa te hunga rangatahi e tuatu hei kai karanga. Nō reira ko tāku pia e korera au e tuatu ki te karanga kia tohu ara nei au I te tuatahi. Hoi anō ki te tuatua hau, ka tuau ki runga I tōku ake mana wahine. Ka tuake au ki runga I te kāwai rangatira o oku ake tipuna wahine. Ka tuatua au I runga I taku mōhio kai te nākau nui au kai te whakapono au. Kua ku mahi katoa e hāngai ana ki ngā mātā pono Māori I tukuna maira e oku tipuna ki au. Oku tipuna nā rātau tonu ahau I whakaako I runga I te marae o Hoani Waititi. tai atu au ki te kura tuatahi o Avondale. Ka tīmata au ki te whātoro atu ki ngā tikanga me ngā kawa o Iwike. I kuhu atu au ki te rōpū kanikani o Hāmoa. Ka toru mai tētahi kia kuhu atu au ki te rōpū Kapahaka. I reira anō ka tīmata pea te hia i roto i au ki te whātoro atu ki ngā mātāpuno ki ngā tikana ki ngā kawa Māori. Ka pōhere mai tētahi waku tino hoa ki te haere atu ki tētahi o ngā haratau o te rōpū manutake. A papapita mā Aunty Aroha me ngā tuaka no te rōpū. Nā wairaka, haere atu māo ki te haututu noiho. Pēpē tonu māua i tērā wā. Reira ka tino kite au i tāku e hia nei ko te reo. Ko tērā tuāhua o te karawhiwhiu i te tangata i roto i te reo me ona tikana. Ka mutuka hoki au te kaina, ka mea tau ki taku māma kai te hia au. Ki te kuhu haere, ki te rao ngā rōpū, ki te rōpū manutaki, ka mea mai taku māma e he tētā e koe, e hara koe te Māori, mea tau, auare aki.
Kai te rere tō manu, ne harai te mea kai te whaene, ne haere tō manu. Kai te moira nei tō manu, kai te rere tō manu, whakarere hia.
Ka whakahōha tau ki taku māma, ka mea ti taku pāpā ki aia, kia ka hata tautoko i tēnei o nā kōhine, e nā kau nui nei ki enei tuāhua, e harai te mea ka raru ia, tūna ia te haere. Nō reira, ko te wiki whai muri atu, i eke mau ko taku tino hoa marunga pahi, ka haere atu mai pātiki i Avondale ki Oratia, heke i te pahi, haere atu ki te marae o Hoani Waititi, te kaumā tahi pea taku pakeke i tērā wā, kai te marae tonu au i tēnei wā. Ko te mea ke o te marae o Hoani Waititi, i whakatūria i runga i te hia kia ako te tangata ahako ko wai ahako anowhea. I whakawhānui haere o ku mātaurana Māori te wā i tai atu ai ki te marae o Hoani Waititi. I wai mari ara wā au ki te huna kaumātua i reira i tērā wā. He rangatira rātau katoa. No ngā iwi katoa te motu. Kaumutu ko papapita hoki, ko tāku tapita Sharples tērā e kaha karawhiu ana i a mātau te hunga rangatahi. Kia au mātau ki ngā kaupapa Māori katoa. Ara noa atu nā āhua tāna kua ako au i runga i tērā marae. E harai te mea kai te mea tau koera noihonga a koranga e āhai ana. Hoi anō, kai te tino mihi atu au ki tōku marae ki Hoani Waititi. Mai kore tōku marae, kua kore tōku reo, kua kore ōku tikana, kua kore pēnei rawa, taku noho i tēnei ao.
Heki nā tika hiri mai ki te waka.
I wai maria au, ki te tuāhua aroha manaaki o te marae o Hoani Waititi, i puare mai nā kuahaki tēnei Pākehā, kia kuhu atu au ki te whānau. Ai harai te mea, i mahea, i mā rake noa te huarahi. Hoi anō, i tuku tonu, kia whāwhā atu au ki e rā o rātou tikana. I roto i tēnā kainui me te aroha.
Ka pai.
That's clip number 1. Clip number 2.
Kia hiwara! Kia hiwara! He kaua, he ope, he manuhi e, kia maha! Ko wai tēnei e whakatau mai ana, anei te wero, kia tūpato, whakatau mai ki runga i te rangi Māori e. Aue kamate, kamate, ka ora, ka ora, kamate, kamate, ka ora, ka ora. Ane he tō kapuna e, ruana te parua
So who decides? Who does what, when, where, and why? Who decides? I wanted to show you those two clips because both of those clips are non-Māori. And Anna Berry is a Pākehā. And she's very much a part of the fabric of Hoani Waititi Marae. Hoani Waititi Marae is also the marae of Te Hira Painga, our guest last week. So Te Hira has grown up himself knowing her very well and undoubtedly respects her in every way. For her to do what she's doing there in that capacity, she has the greatest respect from the Haukainga, from Māori, of Hoani Waititi Marae. Hoani Waititi Marae is probably the most well-known marae here in Tāmaki Makaurau. That doesn't take away the mana of others. It's just very well known and has been for a very long time. You heard them mention Peter Sharples, who was a politician, of course, in the Māori Party for 2 terms, and his hoa rangatira Aroha, and Aroha is Te Hira's mum. That's his mum. So I wanted to show you that particular clip on Anna Berry, that who decides? Who decides? This last clip of Takapuna is these wonderful prefix. This is the next generation. This is the next generation of non-Māori coming up in our midst. But I also wanted to show, you know, their seriousness. They know it's serious what they're doing. It's very evident in their performance. They know that what they're doing should be done with grace and respect, and they did it well, despite the odd grin every now and again when somebody's hands were in the wrong place. But let me tell you, you go to the Auckland Anglican Māori Club, of which I'm a member, we're grinning all the time. So it's no different from them to us. But what I wanted to show was this wonderful warmth that they show right at the end of this clip when they all burst into laughter. Here they are, senior prefects of Takapuna Grammar. And it's okay. You know, I don't take offense by that. I don't. They're not laughing at their performance. They're not laughing at what they did. They're laughing because they didn't quite thread the last bit into it properly. And so they're laughing about, this is my interpretation. They're laughing about, oh my goodness, you know, I'm sure we practiced that. Didn't we practice that? I thought we practiced that. Who was supposed to do that? And it's okay. It's okay to laugh. And we certainly laugh a lot in Kapahaka and in all levels, whether you're young like these people here, whether you're Anna's age, or whether you're Kahupo's age. There's a place for seriousness and there's a place for laughter and lightness, and it's okay. But more importantly, these individuals are non-Māori and they've become so comfortable in their environment. It's okay. They're not fearful to have a laugh when they mucked up. Anna is not fearful to step forward, but she does say in that interview, I do not stand unless I'm asked to. So even though she's got the reo, and even though she performs the karanga really well, and she's obviously teaching all the kids at Hoani Waititi, that's full immersion kaupapa Māori at Hoani Waititi, all those students are full immersion kaupapa Māori. So she's teaching them. And, you know, here she is, she's immersed herself, she said to herself, where she's found her place in that comfort and in that confidence. There's a place for all of us in this world of mātauranga educational Māori. There's a place for all of us. There's a place for all of us in karakia, in waiata, in Kapahaka. Haere mai ki taku taha, ki te whakakaha o ākoranga. So come and walk beside me. Right at the very beginning, we know taha Māori means to walk beside. Haere mai ki taku taha. There's a place right here next to me. Haere mai, kia kaha tō reo, kia kaha tō ākoranga, kia kaha tō mātauranga. Who decides? Who, what, when, why, and where? You do. You decide. Kōrero mai, karanga mai, waiata mai, kapa mai, kia kaha e hoa mā, kia kaha. Hoi anō, haere tonu tātou ki te kaupapa nei.